Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you are doing great and taking care of yourself. If you are new to my channel, I love to share my experience on DevOps tools like Ansible, Git. Also, I do share experience on how to prepare yourself for getting a certified related to any cloud provider like AWS, GCP, Azure. So kindly do watch my playlist, and if you find it helpful, do share with your friends and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Moving back to today's video, if you are into the DevOps field or an SRE field, you would have come across a term called as IAC, which is nothing but infrastructure as code, which deals with four major tasks: initial infrastructure setup, manage infrastructure, application setup, and managing applications. So without any delay, let's learn what is IAC and make ourselves familiar with these concepts and see how IAC has added a value to our day-to-day stuff if you are working as a DevOps engineer or an SRE or a system admin. So let's get started. So, friends, let's understand how the traditional approach or a classic approach used to look like before even the infrastructure has the code exists. So, let's get started. So, in this classic approach, we will walk through the process like how things used to be in order to get your infrastructure provision, right? So, for an example, you are an application owner and you have decided to upgrade the infrastructure of your application. So, here is the first step. You will basically submit a ticket to the infrastructure team, which is nothing but a system admin. Once the system admin reads that ticket, he will basically create or order the VM, whatever configuration you have mentioned. This can be the submission of the ticket can be in the form of an intake form where you will basically give what will be the name of my server, how many CPUs I need, what RAM I need, how many servers I need for production, UAT, dev, SID. So these all information you need to submit, and what operating system you need to be there on the VMware or on your new application server. It can be an Windows operating system, it can be a Red Hat operating system. Once that is done, the system admin will basically then do the configuration of the network, which is setting up the firewalls and also working on the storage part. If you want to configure some NFS directory, then he or she will work on that as well. Once that is done, he will basically provision the server to you. And once the provision is done, that's where you will start working on installing your software. And that installation of software can be done with the help of Unix team as well as database team if you have the Oracle client or Sybase or MS SQL to be installed. Once that is done, finally you can the server or the application server is ready to do the sanity checks, and you can start working on that. Once this whole process is done, finally it is ready for the end user to work on this. Seems this to be a very tedious process, but that's how things used to be exist before even the IAC exists. So let's first understand what is the disadvantages of this traditional or the classic approach. The first very important point here is the cost. For every task, whether it's creating a VMware or ordering a VMware or configuring a network or storage or installing of the software, it involves cost, and whatever teams are involved in it, they will charge against that financial cost. Moving to the next is the human errors. Through this process, you will come across some human errors where the Unix team has forgot to mount the NFS directory, for an example, or they have not installed your Python library or the updated Java version, which can lead to the errors. The third important is time consuming. This whole process can take up to 3 to 4 weeks, or it can also extend about the months, 1 or 2 months, depending upon the availability of the server you require to be available for you. And the last important point is non-idempotent. Uh, idempotent. Sorry for my pronunciation. That means, what I mean is, whenever you execute any command, or if you want to check whether the package has installed or not, you will every time get the different output. Say for first time when I run rpm-q on my Linux terminal, I get 10 packages. When I run the next time, I see a new package installed for the software, right? So this is what the non-idempotent means. So we have learned about how is the classic approach and what are the disadvantages of it. Now let's understand what is that IAC and how it basically solves your problem. So let's learn the definition of the IAC. Okay, so when you Google what IAC, what is it, you will see lots of definitions on the Google, but I have picked 1 or 2 definition which is in the layman format and easy to understand. So let's read that. Infrastructure as a code automates the management and the provisioning of IT infrastructure through a computer code. Remember, I told you, if you want to install a software, or if you want to provision, if you want to basically create a VMware, or do the configuration of the network, everything can be automated using just writing a computer code or a program which will act as infrastructure as a code. Moving to the next definition is, infrastructure as a code is nothing more than replacing the traditional manual provision of infrastructure through admin consoles or GUI with a programming based approach. Think scripting in brackets. So what this definition means is, whatever the steps we have taken, like ordering, creating a VMware, or configuring the network, storage, installing the software, this everything can be automated. That's what, and this whole can be replaced by writing a simple script. In short, IAC helps you automate all the tasks end to end by writing a small programs and applications. That's how. And if you see on the right hand side, you will see we have different IAC tools like Chef, AWS Cloud Formation, Ansible, Terraform. You have Puppet. So these all helps you to basically configure or provision the infrastructure. I hope you got an understanding of what is IAC. Now, let's go on the benefits, how the IAC has helped us to overcome the disadvantages which we saw on our first slide. So first one is idempotence. This means that IAC module generates the same environment every time it is applied. So for an example, you have written a script where it wants to create 2 EC2 instances. You have written an AWS Cloud Formation template where you want to create 2 EC2 instances on the availability zone called US Virginia. or US East, right? I call it US East, and you want the Ubuntu to be installed on it, and then you want the certain directories to be configured on it. So every time when you execute this script of AWS Cloud Formation, it will give you the same result. It will not change. It will create the EC2 instances of what you have defined in AWS Cloud Formation template. The second important thing is faster deployment. With a single command, you can deploy and provisions environment. So once you have written the AWS Cloud Formation template and you have used certain variables, now you want same infrastructure to be provisioned for for SIT or IST or UAT. You can execute it and it will give you the same results and will create the infrastructure across SIT, IST, UAT with the same infrastructure. Uh, Reduces the cost. With this automation, there are certain things which will basically help to reduce the cost, like manpower, right? Instead of 5 people working on your configuring of the server, now you just require 1 or 2 people, right? Sorry, this reduces the cost. The fourth important point is minimizing of human error. Since it's automated, you will not land up into the error like missing of create mounting the NFS directory. The fifth point is lesser downtime and faster recovery. Since you have created the similar environment across SID, UAT, production, and disaster recovery. Say tomorrow, if your production goes down, all you need to execute a certain commands, and it will bring your disaster recovery data center up immediately with a lesser downtime. And the last one is version control. Like a code, IAC can be version control. So when something environmental causes the system to respond incorrectly, it can be rolled back and investigated. So what happens, since it is nothing but a code, you can check in that code into the Git repository, and tomorrow if you want to roll back, you already have the last code which was there in your source repository, which is Git. You can get that and just roll back everything. This we will understand more when we will deal with the Terraform. How does Terraform helps us to roll back our infrastructure, what was previous when something error has occurred while provisioning it, the new infrastructure. Don't worry, we'll go back. I hope you got the benefits of how IAC has helped DevOps, SRE, and system admin to overcome the human errors, lesser downtime, reducing the cost, faster deployment. Now, let's move to another category called where I have provisioned this IAC into three categories. The first one is infrastructure provisioning. So in this category, you will have creating a new servers or spinning the new servers, creation of the load balancer, network configuration at the infra level, which I mentioned, NFS, right? The second one is configuration of provisional infrastructure. This is nothing but where you install your softwares, like sorry for the typo error, install of Java, install of Oracle client, Python, Perl, etc. And then once you have installed the software and once the server is ready, you need to manage your softwares on the servers. In case say you are using 1.6 Java version, but in the market now it is OpenJDK or anything 1.8.06 version is available, you need to upgrade that. So that is nothing but managing it, right? The another important point in the configuration of provisional infrastructure is preparing the servers to get your application deployed. Once you have created the VMwares, now you need to basically deploy your softwares, right? Which you can do using different configuration tools like Ansible, Puppet, Chef, etc. The last category which I have categorized the three important tasks of IAC is last one is deployment of application. So at end of the day, you need to pack your application and install through a Docker image file. So these are the three main important categories. Whenever you talk about IAC, it should come to your mind. So that's what I have categorized the three main tasks of IAC. Now, let's move to the tools, right? So there now you would have been questioning that why we have so many tools to be learned. But yeah, each tool has some advantages and some disadvantages, and that's why they exist, right? So let's understand these tools. So first one, if you want to do an infrastructure setup and manage your infrastructure, Terraform is the best thing. Learn Terraform and you will make your infrastructure provision immediately, and at the same time you can manage that, right? So that's how the Terraform is being used. Sorry for all the typo errors, I will correct it when I send this as a PDF. The second thing is application setup and managing the applications. Now you have done the infrastructures setup, right? And you have provisioned the application server. The time is now to install the necessary softwares or configure the application or the softwares, right? So Ansible, Chef, Puppet, these help you to configure or install your software, right? So if you want to install a Tomcat and configure the HTTP connection, Ansible can help you in that. Chef can also help you in the form of creating cookbooks, right? Puppet is another thing. So Ansible to install and deploy the applications. Puppet and Chef are used to configure, manage, and deploy applications. So these Ansible, Puppet, Chef, whichever you want to learn, you can learn to get your application configure, manage, and deploy. But when it comes to the provisioning, Terraform is the best till now. I don't know what's going to be the future, but if you're looking really to learn the provisioning of the infrastructure, I would say Terraform is the best. Like there are many tools like AWS CloudFormation. You have your Azure resource template. So there are many IAC tools, but the hottest tool in the market is Terraform. So in this whole series of Terraform, we are going to learn the Terraform commands and how Terraform has helped us in initializing and provisioning of the infrastructure. I hope you got an understanding of what is IAC, how IAC has overcome the disadvantages which we had with our traditional approach, and what tools can you learn in when you talk about IAC. And most likely, make sure that you categorize your tools into that three major categories, which is again infrastructure provisioning, configuration of provisioning infrastructure, and last the deployment of application. I hope I have tried my best to share the information about IAC and whatever I have learned until now. Okay, if you feel this video is really helpful, do share with your friends, and lastly, do not forget to subscribe to my channel. It really motivates